Hi, I'm Birdime. Dude, we have a weird video today. Just buckle up. In 2009, we got a modern horror classic, The Orphan. It got such a cult following that 13 years later, this week, we will be getting a prequel to The Orphan. And for those of you who don't know, The Orphan follows a 9-year-old girl who gets adopted from a foreign country. And then when some weird stuff starts occurring, they found out that the 9-year-old girl they adopted was actually an adult pretending to be a kid. They found this out by the kid starting to commit crimes and growing jealous of the rest of the people in the family. And I assume some of you know about Natalie Grace, a popular story that took place a couple of years after the movie that kind of had a similar thing to the movie, but some of you may not know that this movie was possibly inspired by true events, with many quoting the case of, and I'm gonna butcher the name, Barbora Skrlová? Barbora Skrlová? Maybe wrong, but that case possibly inspired the movie and has so many eerie resemblances to the movie, and we're going to be talking about it today. So here is the truth behind the girl who inspired The Orphan. Here is the timeline of events. Barbara was a 33-year-old woman from the Czech Republic, I think it's how it's pronounced, born with a
hypopituitarism,
a condition that caused an abnormal decrease in hormones, causing her to look much younger. Her height was just about like 5'2", and she could easily fit in with younger looking people in her country, which some reports said she has done a lot before getting caught. Some people say not so much, that this was kind of like the first case. It's kind of each their own, and her story's kind of in two parts, each having their own popularity. The story that kind of got her caught, and very crazy events that led up to her on the run. And I can see where the movie could take from both of these stories. Of course, both stories are true. There's this kind of, it's whatever the media kind of runs with these days. Barbara would eventually move in with two sisters, Clara, her two kids, and Katrina, and this took place around 2006. Though some events that aren't so easy to timeline are that both sisters grew up thinking that they had a grand religious purpose, which kind of, you will see why that's important in a few moments. I'm probably butchering all these names just so you know, but Clara seemed to kind of be worse from most of the stories I saw, which is kind of unfortunate since she was the one with the kids. And she seemed to be worse mentally, and her unhealthy and violent behavior led to her divorce, which led to her living with her sister. Now, there is some kind of debate of how she met the two sisters, with some believing that they went to school together. Some people believe she kind of just tricked them into adopting her, you know, just being lonely on the street. And it kind of seemed to be a more popular idea that she kind of tricked them to begin with, or at the very least, it seems to be agreed upon that at times, no matter what, to the outside world, she would pretend to be a 13-year-old girl named Anika. So at the very least, around this time, she was pretending to be someone. Now, either way, as Anika or Barbara, she would often manipulate Clara, using her mental illness towards her advantage, and convince her and then eventually her sister to join the Grail movement, a kind of cult-like movement and religion based around the Holy Grail. And they would often receive texts from a mysterious person named the Doctor. The Doctor would often kind of confirm some of the things Barbara was saying and her beliefs, and at the very least, if Barbara believed in these beliefs or not, she at least used it as her justification to doing the right thing. And that goes back into the earlier point that the grand religious kind of prophecy, their meaning, can now be found through an alternate religion that says that they have a grander meaning. So basically, Barbara or Anika grew her way into the family and unfortunately grew jealous of the two kids, who would kind of just be the target of the abuse, you know. She mainly manipulated the two sisters, and the kids kind of got the worst end of it. Much like the movie, she would manipulate the adults and get the kids in trouble, but these punishments were just so much worse, and it was so sickening just to read in some of this stuff and read into it. But eventually, the punishments just got worse and worse, convincing the two adults to lock the kids in the basement, deprive them of food. She convinced the two of them, through using the grail movement, to skin parts of the kids, and the three of them would eat them together. It gets worse because they didn't even just like do it away from the kids. They would take the part of the kid and they would just eat it in front of the kid. It's just so sickening and just so gross. Luckily though, some of the neighbors took notice. Oftentimes people were saying that the neighbor also had a camera, which Barbara convinced the two adults to put a baby monitor in their room so they can watch the kids in the basement, or some say an attic, and their neighbor would get one for their kid, and that they would kind of mix signals sometimes, and they would go to look at their kid and they would see that, and they kind of thought maybe at first it was a prank or something like that, but they eventually grew worried, kind of recognizing the people on camera, and then reported it. So the two sisters got arrested, and Barbara was then kind of linked as a key witness. Upon getting there though, most people say that Barbara pretended to be a kid, got, told to say, oh, wait over here, and then escaped with a few friends to Denmark. And unfortunately, after this, only one of the kids lived after getting medical attention at the hospital. And now we get into a bit of the second case, which this time is more of identity theft, actually taking the spot of a 13-year-old boy named Adam. Now, Adam was a real person, with most people saying that she kind of just took one of her friend's kids' identity, or like they gave it to her and let, her become Adam, and then like helped her get there. Mixed opinions on that though. I assume most people just don't care, because either way, what she did was wrong. Either way, Barbara went to Norway, became the 13-year-old boy named Adam, and started to live at a children's home. Similar to things in the movie, she would, hide her appearance once again to make sure they didn't see that she was an adult. And including some extra steps, which included shaving her head to look closer to the boy in the picture. She even took it a step further and enrolled with the passport of Adam in a school near to the orphanage. And this is where it gets weird, because similar to the movie, she didn't just trick like one or two people. She tricked, some families. She tricked police. She tricked the teachers, and it's insane. But eventually, some people kind of thought it was a bit weird how Adam was acting, and the principal, which later was questioned, said this: "We did react to Adam's behavior, but it's not easy to know. Children at that age can just be so different." So there was some kind of questions of the behavior, but not enough to kind of go on. I just assume at this time most people just would never have expected this to be a thing. Now, after spending a few months in this country and a few months at school, about mid-December, Adam went missing, causing a lot of police reports to kind of go out for the missing child. And even in early January, the pictures of Adam was kind of distributed to kind of, because they really just thought this kid was missing. And I would assume at this time, Barbara kind of just got tired of pretending to be a kid, and just, left the orphanage and went to go be an adult once he saw a better opportunity to, be an adult somewhere else and in hiding. Now, with the nationwide search on and the kid's picture being distributed, tips would eventually lead them to a few towns over, where they found Barbara in about kind of late January. Now, of course, they would eventually find Barbara, realize what is happening, realize that they're an adult, with police in Norway saying, "Not even we have been able to figure out what is up and what is down in this case." Barbara's total hiding was about 4 months away in Norway, and it's just insane that they managed to do it that long, pretend to be multiple kids in this time frame, with some reports saying that they probably have done this beforehand. And of course, at this time, the Czech Republic has already started realizing that the person that they thought was a kid who ran off was likely an adult who was involved with everything that was happening. And then, of course, Norway brought Barbara back to her country, where all three eventually got tried, and the two sisters got between 9 and 12 years, depending, with some reports saying 12 and some reports saying about 10 and 9 years. And oddly enough, every report I saw said that Barbara only got 5 years, meaning she would be out of jail like way before the two of them for a long period of time. I believe all of them should be out of jail at this time. All three tried to appeal their sentences. I don't think that went well, but it's just insane that this case is real, and it's kind of easy to follow. Most reports kind of follow the same paths, which is a few differences. I think what the differences was if they were added later on, with a lot of the stuff I read was from early on or later, so, more information can come out. I can't find any information what the three are doing now, if they have been arrested again, but I doubt it. And this is not even the crazy case, because the one that happened after this, Natalie Grace, which is very similar to the Orphan as well, is even crazier to follow. Maybe I'll do a video on that one. But if you like this, it's kind of different from my regular content. Let me know in the comments below. I've been Birdime. Have a good night.